There's a new suitor for the Bears at number 1, and it's a team you probably didn't expect or didn't really think about moving forward. All we've heard about week in and week out are the Colts and the Texans. Will the Texans move up from 2-1? Will the Colts move up from 4-1? What will they give up? Who's interested? Who needs a quarterback? It turns out this team that I'm about to tell you doesn't necessarily need a quarterback today, but may need one tomorrow. And they're very interested in Bryce Young. Now, here's a quote from Charlie Campbell, NFL Draft Insider. After trading away Russell Wilson a year ago, it was a common belief that the Seattle Seahawks would be in the quarterback market during the 2023 NFL Draft. However, a surprisingly good 2022 season of veteran Geno Smith led Seattle to the playoffs, and many have assumed that the free agent Smith will return to the franchise and be their starter in 2023. Although this is likely, Seattle is doing their due diligence on all the quarterback prospects for the 2023 NFL Draft, and sources say that they love Alabama QB Bryce Young. How about that? Big news out of Seattle here today, breaking this morning on Sunday. So yet another team has emerged as a potential contender for this top spot. Texans are still in, Colts are still in, Carolina could be in, but Seattle now all of a sudden is very interested in Bryce Young. Don't blame them. Bryce Young's going to be a very solid quarterback in the NFL, I believe. But I think this whole situation is intriguing because they have a quarterback. And there's a lesson to be learned here, and we could discuss that in a second, but I'll touch on it here for a minute too. You can never be too safe, and you can never look too far into the future for your quarterback position. I like Geno Smith. I contended he should have gotten MVP votes this year for what he did for Seattle. I mean, imagine trading away your franchise QB who wins you Super Bowls. You bring in somebody who you really don't know, journeyman quarterback his entire career. He comes in, throws 30 touchdowns, leads the league in completion percentage, breaks your single-season franchise record for most passing yards in a year, and leads you to a 9-8 record and a playoff appearance. All that happened, and by the way, entering the season, in training camp even, Geno Smith was battling for the starting spot with Drew Lock. There was no guarantee Geno Smith would be the starter, let alone do what he did for Seattle last year. He deserves some sort of long-term commitment. And Seattle may overpay for him, but unfortunately, because of his performance last year, he deserves it, unlike Daniel Jones or other quarterbacks who put up a good year, have a good team around them, and then they get a big payday. Geno Smith carried the Seahawks last year, by far. If Geno Smith even played a notch below what he did, Seattle would not have made the playoffs going 9-8. They wouldn't have even been 9-8. They would have been 6-11. Maybe 7-10 if they were lucky. Geno Smith was the main reason why they made it in and why he will get a payday, why he will be starting for Seattle next year. That's it. Geno's a rookie. Geno's a veteran, but he's a journeyman. We don't know what he's going to be doing in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. We know he had one good year. First ever good year he's ever had. Could he replicate that? I don't know. Seattle will have to sign him because of what he did last year. That said, you need to have an insurance policy in case things go wrong. If Geno Smith shows up this year 20 pounds overweight, doesn't try hard in the offseason, doesn't train, gets paid all this money, and starts off the season going, 2-4, 5 touchdowns, 8 picks or something, they could bring in a rookie quarterback with promise, like Bryce Young. I'm not surprised that Pete Carroll and company are interested in Bryce Young either. It makes sense. Here's more of that quote from Charlie Campbell, insider. From speaking with Seahawks sources, it did not sound like the Seahawks were going to move on from Smith and give up the farm to move up for Young. However, Seattle said to love Young, and if the franchise loses Geno Smith in free agency too, that could also change the organization's thinking. So, point being, there's another suitor for Bryce Young, and in order to get Bryce Young, they may have to go through the Bears to get to that top spot. It would be a gamble for Seattle to wait till 11 to see if Bryce Young's still available. Keyword, he won't be. It'll be a gamble for them to wait till number 2 or number 3, number 4, to see if Bryce Young is still available. So now they're in this situation where they may be obliged to trade up. And if Geno Smith somehow left, which I doubt is going to happen, but if it did, they're going to be really desperate and really needy. they're going to really need a quarterback. So this is very interesting, and that's why the title of this video is that the Bears have a new potential trade partner for the top pick, because they do. We have never heard Seattle mentioned or named in regards to trading up for that top pick. We didn't even know Seattle was interested in Bryce Young till today. New report. We knew about Houston, and they need a quarterback. We knew about Indianapolis. They, too, need a quarterback. Carolina, potentially, they may need a quarterback, depending on what their plans are. Seattle, yes and no. We knew Geno Smith would be the answer for maybe next year, the year after, but long-term, maybe in 4 or 5 years, not so much. That's probably the worst position to be into if you're an NFL team. Like, Geno Smith did so well last year, but is he a long-term option? No. So you're really taking a gamble, taking a risk in keeping him and then hoping for 4 or 5 more years of 2022 production. Same with Daniel Jones and the Giants. I mean, the Giants could draft a new quarterback today, and I would not be unhappy with that decision. Is Daniel Jones going to do what he did last year for 4 or 5 more years, and last year wasn't even that impressive to begin with? Probably not. Yet you're going to pay him and be strapped to him. You're going to pay a mid-level quarterback top dollars and be stuck with him for years to come. Look at the Cowboys and Dak Prescott. How'd that work out for them? And by the way, they want to pay Dak another contract. And good luck ever making the Super Bowl. That's the goal. It always seems as if there are about 10 quarterbacks in the NFL at one time who could make a Super Bowl in any given season. And then there are 20 quarterbacks and 20 teams who have mid-level to mediocre quarterback play, and that always holds them back. So the question is, you could have stability at the quarterback position, but that doesn't mean you're going to win a Super Bowl. Look at Derek Carr and the Raiders, right? Raiders had stability. Derek Carr's a quality quarterback, but he's not a Super Bowl caliber quarterback, and now he's gone. And after all these years, the Raiders are kind of in flux, but at the same time, what are they really losing? They haven't made a Super Bowl with Derek Carr. Same now with Seattle and probably with other teams in this situation, potentially Carolina, other teams too. Seattle has Geno Smith. I love Geno Smith. I have so much respect for him. I think he did great. He deserved MVP votes. But Geno Smith could play like this for 5 more years. Is Seattle going to win a Super Bowl? Probably not. Not because of Geno Smith necessarily, but partially him, partially the team around him. It's just not a situation where you could say they're Super Bowl winners. They're Super Bowl contenders. The NFL is weird like that, but that's the way the cookie crumbles, I guess. There are usually only 5 to 10 quarterbacks every year where you could say, yeah, he could be in a Super Bowl. Everybody else, you're kind of on your own, and maybe somebody catches fire late and moves forward like a Nick Foles / Carson Wentz. But usually, they never get you to where you want to be, but yet you're still stuck with them and obligated to them because there's stability involved. So it's a really weird situation if you're a quarterback. And if you're a team, it's hard to distinguish what to hold on to, how long to hold on to somebody, and then when it's time to make a change. So Seattle is in that situation now, and the Bears have a chance to profit off it. And if I were the Bears here, I would do a great job at keeping this going. And that's all I would say.